Hey guys, welcome to today's video essay. We are going to be talking about why BTS sounds so good, and there's one word I'm going to use a lot in this video, and that is experimentation. I talk about it a lot in my videos. It's probably the most important thing in music, especially in the modern era. Feder describes experimental music as a phrase used in the mid-20th century to describe a range of ultra-modernist compositional techniques as a form of quasi-scientific research. Which means something to someone. To me, in the modern day, experimental music means music which is unconventional, breaking away from the norm of a genre, incorporates sounds that aren't generally associated with that genre and music in general. Experimental music is mainly associated with producers rather than just singers and musicians, and therefore K-pop is actually full of it. Basic K-pop tracks' most important element is its instrumental. It's often EDM based. A good instrumental is the difference between a forgettable track and an industry changing track. And you'd think for an industry like K-pop, where there's not really much room for change, experimentation wouldn't be around. Everything is manufactured. And you're right. But that's not always the case. K-pop has been experimental from the start. It just goes through periods when it's not really prevalent. We think of Seo Taiji and the Boys. They were experimental from the start. Artists like G-Dragon, Boa, even Korean hip-hop artists like Yoon Marie. In my opinion, the most important experimental musicians of our time are people like Kanye West and the Gorillaz. They're not what a lot of people in the music critique industry would describe as experimental, but in my opinion they are perfect examples. Their production is innovative and they've changed the genres they're supposed to be parts of. Hell, Kanye is the reason the hip-hop industry is in the state it's in currently, with 808s and Heartbreak, a stunning experimental hip-hop, melodic, confessionary, 808 heavy, soul-destroying album. He changed the landscape of what it means to make a hip-hop album. In the modern era, it's artists like Sophie and Janelle Monáe who are making experimental pop music. JPEG Mafia, Def Grips are making experimental hip-hop music. Production from artists like Madlib and Flume are changing the industries. So, how does this relate to BTS? Well, BTS started off as an American hip-hop outfit making bangery hip-hop tracks with some pop elements and some pretty bland R&B on the side. Hip-hop is now the most listened to genre of music. It dominates the US and the UK charts, but also the world charts. Artists like Drake and Eminem are guaranteed #1 spots and are world famous. This is in large part due to West and East Coast rappers starting off, but also sites like Napster and YouTube and SoundCloud and places like DatPiff. It allowed people across the world to take part in and enjoy listening to and making hip-hop. Why is it popular at the moment? Well, music tends to move in cycles, but I don't really want to get into that right now. BTS definitely struggled for a while with their sound. At the beginning, when things like Too Cool for School and Are You Late Too, they were making pretty generic pop hip-hop blends and it wasn't very defined. Dark and Wild was a fun album with some really good ideas, but it wasn't really until HYYH dropped that things changed. I Need You and Dope were released, new age production techniques were incorporated, and more flashy pop sounds were used. Their producers, P-Dog, Slow Rabbit, Hitman Bang, Supreme Boy, and more sort of higher end talents who came in and produced the cyphers. There was a lot of talent behind the scenes making the music for BTS, and it was in HYYH that these sounds really came to fruition. As time passed, they would try different things: laid back percussion tracks, more boom bap, hip hop beats, flashy EDM age. BTS pretty much started the whole EDM sound in Korea. I mean, like using that, making a pop track but using a flashy EDM chorus. That's what I meant. I need to just clear that up. And then they released Blood, Sweat, Tears, an artsy dark pop adventure involving strings, incredible synths, superb reverb, stunning gothic art, and full-on experimentation. Wings set the stage for BTS as an experimental outfit, not just a K-pop group. Other artists in the industry tend to play it safe. Twice and GOT7 under JYP Entertainment, they do like to play it safe, and that's mainly JYP's fault. He's seen what BTS are doing, and well, now there's Stray Kids. I'm not saying Stray Kids are only around because of BTS, but I think they only have their artistic liberty because of BTS. Experimentation has always been around across all musical genres, especially the underground scenes. I'm thinking of underground Korean artists like Saran, who make experimental pop R&B, but with some interesting production as well. It's very live wire and intense. It does remind me of Janelle Monáe's stuff. There's also a lot of experimental hip hop in the Korean scene. Ginno Boy, I'm sure you've heard of him. He utilizes some really interesting instrumentals in his tracks. It sounds so weird and disconcerting. There really is some fantastic stuff, and I'm not saying they are like this because of BTS. It's always been around, but BTS have done this really well in an industry that doesn't really like to change. BTS sounds so different to their contemporaries. Even though they make the same genres, they just use different sounds and play around with the boundaries of genres. You know, you think about Fake Love, The Truth Untold. Both songs are kind of hard to define, and that's the best thing as a music critic, to not be able to define a song's genre, because you shouldn't be able to place a song in a specific box. If it is in just one specific box, then maybe the song isn't challenging you enough. Now, BTS aren't really changing the world's music. They've certainly changed the K-pop industry, or at least how it's perceived by the outside world, not just the West, you know, which Americans seem to think is the only thing that matters. I'm talking about the whole world. I mean, in my videos, I make, you know, Korean reviews, but my most watched country is Indonesia. I think that's really interesting personally. So what makes BTS sound so good? It is the balance of experimentation with their general hip-hop pop blends, their ability to switch genres on an album and keep it cohesive, and well, of course, because the members are very talented. I feel like that's needless to say. Anyway, that's going to be it for today's video essay. I hope you're looking forward to the new BTS album. It's coming out in just over a week, I think. I like the sound they're going for, a mature school love affair vibe. That's going to be sick. I'm really looking forward to it.